off are mainly like bio, med tech, health tech. Later in the evening, program doesn't start till 6, but the VIP portion to hang out with the consulate general and the other investors is from 4:45 to 5:30. And then we also have the finale of our pitch event that we've been doing with Elevator Pitch, which is part of Entrepreneur Magazine's streaming television show. We have the finale on Wednesday night in Century City. So if anybody wants info for that, you're more than welcome to sign up for that. That's an easy thing.
Great. Thank you for those updates, Darren.
You're welcome. Hey, Derek.
How are you?
Good. I was just looking at your email address, sending you an email.
Darren, is it Rogers Healy, one of the investors over there at Elevator Pitch?
I don't remember. They have, I think they have a few. You going?
Yeah.
Okay, I see it.
Love you.
I love you too. I think they have a few. So Jonathan Hung is our official judge for that. And then they've had a couple of others. And for those of you guys who don't know, Elevator Pitch is basically like Shark Tank, except instead of walking down the hallway, opening the doors and seeing 3 judges, you walk down the hallway, you press the button, you get into an elevator, and the voice says, "You now have 60 seconds to deliver your pitch, why we should open the doors," basically. And so you literally have 60 seconds and the mic and the camera goes off and the 3 judges get to vote whether to open the doors or to send them back down. And so at our event, we picked 10 applicants that have submitted online applications or have had referrals. For this last one, we've had a lot of people refer now that they know that it's happening. And so we've got a better group of startups this time, and they get 1 minute. That's it. Like, it's 1 minute by themselves. There's no slides, nothing. And we give them scores, and then the top 3 scores move on to the second round. And the second round is 3 minutes with slides, also timed. So very brutally timed, by the way. And then 6 minutes of Q&A, and we even cut off judges at 6 minutes. So, and that way it stays nice and tight and the timing's good. Everybody's happy because everybody, gets to leave, that it's no droning on and on or anything. So, and then the winner this week, next week, it'll be, the winner will go up against the 3 past winners, and the winner of between those 4 gets an automatic slot on the TV show. So that's kind of fun.
It's a super interesting concept. It's fun, a fun show to watch. If you haven't watched it, anybody, give it a watch.
I like that. It sounds dramatic. I like it.
Very dramatic, and they do a good job of doing it.
Yeah, we've had some tremendous crash and burns. Because that's fun too, right? I mean, you never want to see someone fail, but when you have people that.
But if they do, it should be dramatic. It should be spectacular.
What? What do you mean it's a minute? That's not a minute. And it's like they're still in their story part. Like they haven't even gotten to the pitch. So I'm like, yeah, you clearly didn't rehearse. So.
Well, Nachi, they got some Texas representation. I saw that the Rogers Healy that I had mentioned, he's over in Dallas. So go Texas.
Yay. Yeah, and he's quite a character too on the shows.
He is. He's he's a real estate. He comes from a real estate background, so he's much of a personality to him for sure.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll add a few updates from our side before we jump in here. For those who didn't hear it, Garrett is let me person in here. Garrett is out today. He's at a dinner, so I'm running the show. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Spears. I'm a partner at Some Ventures with Garrett. So we have some exciting news on our side. One of our portfolio companies, Plant Switch, they do sustainable biodegradable cutlery and are growing extremely quickly. They just launched a China facility. So they are truly supply limited. There's so much demand for what they're doing. So another facility is going to be a huge thing for them. So we're really excited about that. We've also invested 500K across both funds in Fantasy Life. So this is Matthew Berry's company that, you know, we believe is going to be really the centralized hub for everything fantasy football. So, you know, actually picking your teams, playing all the content, kind of a very robust multi-channel strategy that he has there. So we're really excited about that one as well. I'll drop a link here in a minute for his the article that he writes. That's the most wide read annually on fantasy football in the world. So big audience there, and yeah, that's an exciting one for us as well. And lastly, on my announcements, we have our first exit coming up as a fund. So we're really excited about that one. This is, you know, from our side, probably one of the best parts is actually being able to see the results of everyone's hard work and send out those checks to the investors. So we'll have more info on that as it gets finalized. But yeah, big news from our side as well. And then lastly, I wanted to we have on this call Raj, who is our new venture partner. And we put some posts out on LinkedIn, but Raj is an incredible resource for us. He and contributor to and resource for the portfolio companies. He is like, to say a veteran of Siemens is an understatement. He was there since it had, you know, something around 2 million in revenue until he retired very recently, and led, you know, billions in acquisitions and many other things there. One of the things that I love about Raj is he's amazing at the big picture, but then also obviously really passionate about the details and really knows what he's talking about on the engineering side and manufacturing side as well. Raj, do you want to, I'm putting you on the spot, but do you just want to say hi really quickly and say anything?
It's good to be with this august body of people. Very impressive. And I'm looking forward to working with some of you. Most of my work is in manufacturing, engineering in the discrete and process industries and medical device industries. This is where I spend most of my time. I have automotive and machine background, but also software. I'm also a developer, so variety of things. Today we are exonerated. So if there's anything I can help with, please reach out.
Perfect. Thank you, Raj.
I think so.
I think we need somebody to mute.
Elizabeth, if you want to share co-host.
It's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, and you know, we'll do I'm sure everyone will get to know Raj more here as he gets to dig in, and you know, I'm really confident he's going to make a huge impact with our team and the portfolio companies as well. So like I said, we're so happy to have him and really excited about him joining us. All right, so our first presenter here is Jerome. So Jerome is one of our portfolio founders, and his company Berry Organics is you know, growing really quickly, and also has a mission behind it as well. So excited to let him take over and talk you guys through it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate the intro, and thank you to Garrett again for inviting me to this event. As Elizabeth mentioned, we are a very proud member of SumVentures portfolios, so we're thankful to be here today. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I'm Jerome. I'm the founder and CEO of Berry Organics. We are a California-based company. We make award-winning organic electrolyte products that you can find in leading national retailers today, from Whole Foods to Target to Sprouts to Wegmans and many more. The big update that I have today to share with everyone since we last met is we have a strategic beverage company that's agreed to invest $3.2 million into our business. They'll be funding in September. So very excited to share that news, and I'll dive into the details on that a little bit later. Before I go into the company, just a refresher for people who haven't heard about the origin story of how the company started. I was a former college athlete at Cornell University, was diagnosed with cancer when I was 18. That whole journey actually led me to this path of organic and plant-based healing. I credit changing my diet to organic food to beating the disease and staying cancer-free for over 14 years now. But what that experience actually opened my eyes to as an athlete was that there's a major problem in my industry of sports drinks, and electrolyte products were filled with toxic, unhealthy chemicals and ingredients that were not good for families, not just athletes, but also electrolyte products targeted towards babies specifically had ingredients that the FDA had at one point deemed as carcinogenic and banned. And even in California, a lot of the yellow 6 and red dyes are being banned today. So that problem that we identified, it spurred my idea to create the first all-organic plant-based brand that families trust. And that's how the Berry Organics mission was born. We create 100% true to nature products that families and athletes around the country trust today. Currently, we are first to market. Our chief scientist who developed Muscle Milk Orgain, which is sold to Nestle, he helped us develop the only organic plant-based brand in the sports drink category and also the electrolyte solution category. We are positioned as the natural alternative to Gatorade and Pedialyte, respectively. And our Berry Light product on the bottom right here actually achieved the fastest growing brand in the category at the end of last year in the natural channel. Here are some of the leading retailers that we work with today. And over the years, we've won a few awards, from Nielsen's Product of the Year award to Katie's Best Beverage Award, and more recently, #1 Best Quality Sports Drink. A couple of our retailers, like Whole Foods and Sprouts, have actually banned Pedialyte because of the ingredient composition, and Target actually agreed to replace all of their competitors with our Berry Light. So right now in Target, you have Pedialyte and Berry Light next to each other on the shelf. Quick update on SPINS data. Actually, this is as of last month for 52 weeks. We are the #1 driver of the growth for the category. Most of the category is on decline. Pedialyte's declining 34%. We're actually contributing to 15% of the category's growth, which is really exciting. A couple of recent retailer wins. Target agreed to triple our distribution this September. Wegmans agreed to launch Berry Light this October. And Sysco, the largest food service distributor in the US, has accepted Berry Light for distribution to hospitals across the country. One of the things that we're most proud of is our team. We consist of entrepreneurs and CEOs who have led 11 exits in the space. Our chief scientist, who I mentioned, he formulated Muscle Milk, which was acquired by Pepsi, Orgain, which was acquired by Nestle, and Fuse, which was acquired by Coca-Cola. We also have Sandy Gooch on our board. She founded Mrs. Gooch's, which was acquired by Whole Foods Market. Michael, who's an former executive at Snapple, Ben & Jerry's, with the former senior brand manager at Pedialyte on our team. John Zimmer, the founder of Lyft. He's been a really close advisor to me. And John Simmons recently joined as a lead advisor, and who will be coming on full-time after the Series A round closes next month. He's a serial beverage entrepreneur, founded 2 beverages that were acquired for over $10 million. As far as the market goes, it's a highly acquisitive market in the beverage industry. Similar to the tech industry, the big strategics don't want to innovate. They would rather acquire the small companies and feed them into their distribution networks overnight. And on a similar note, so we have a strategic beverage company. That's the big announcement today. That's agreed to invest 3.2 million in our company at a 25.2 million valuation next month. Anticipated funding date is going to be September 30th. Couple beyond the capital, there's a couple value adds to this partnership. One is they're the #1 market share leader in the region in Latin America. They are the primary competitor to Coca-Cola. They plan to add our products to their 180,000 distribution points. Now, to give a little bit of context, right now we're in Target, we're in Whole Foods, we're in a lot of retailers, but that barely adds up to 2,500 stores. So we're going from 2,500 stores to over 180,000 distribution points potentially next year. It's a massive increase in business. And hard to say, but most likely they're going to be a likely acquisition partner in the future. So a lot of potential value add from beyond just the 3.2 million that they're putting into the company. Lastly, just a quick update on the investment. So this 3.2 million that they're coming in, it's only going to be made available to the strategic because it's technically a strategic round. But however, in last year's round that some ventures participated in, we do have a little bit of space left, about 100,000 available. It'll convert to equity in approximately 4 weeks when this round closes. The 17.5 million cap represents about a 30% discount. So a very nice, attractive discount there. And then just a quick note, 100% of board members are investing in this round. And what else? Yeah, those are the main updates I wanted to share today. Left my contact information here below. I also have put Ken Borkin. He's the TCA LA manager, and he's actually on this call as well. But he's on our board and has been a phenomenal asset to our team. So thank you everyone for your partnership, and happy to answer any questions.
Jerome, that's amazing. Those are huge updates. Congratulations.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
This
Does
is
anyone-
a story. Just a quick question. How will the other competitor respond to this once they find out that their competitor has invested in you? I mean, there has to be some response in the market, right?
It's a great question, Raj. Actually, I got asked that same question today, actually. So I think how companies like Coca-Cola will respond, if anything, is it's a positive response. If anything, it's going to put us on the radar of more strategics. And I think that it's a good thing. I don't see it as any negative at all.
Oh,
If
no,
anything.
I didn't mean it as negative. I mean, this is how the market moves. I'm just looking at how easy it is for brand X to replicate what you have done.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I mean, we're lucky in the sense that we're in an industry where the big strategics like Coke and Pepsi, they don't create their own brands. They don't innovate, they acquire brands. So our biggest competitors are really the small upstart brands that are trying to enter the market. It's not a Coca-Cola, it's not a Pepsi. Those companies have very established brands.
No, I understand, but I'm just looking at the barriers to entry for somebody that ultimately gets acquired by the other big beverage. So you have about a year's glide path, take about a year and a half ahead of everybody else.
I think it's a great question. I think definitely the strategics, this will put us on the radar. I don't think that it will make them want to acquire our competitors more likely.
I think it's fair to say it gives us a head start in Central America, certainly for the first year and a half. And what it does is it's going to drive interest hopefully in the investment side and distribution side of the American business from the big people like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, because this strategic would not be distributing us in the United States. So they're going to push out the big distribution in Latin America and South America, and then we can leverage that into interest over here. So that should help it from getting too conflicting.
This is a phenomenal story.
Mm.
This we'll watch you guys and see how the market responds. Great.
Yeah, it's a great question, Raj. Thank you.
Great. Does anyone else? Questions for Jerome? Okay.
When do we get to taste it?
I brought samples at the last event, but that was a little while ago. I'm happy to send some. Yeah.
Also, every Whole Foods, and you can order on Amazon.
Yes, and Sprouts in the NorCal. Sprouts is our #1 retailer, and Target as well.
Good job, guys. Okay, so next up here we have Glam Hive. This was actually an introduction made through Jeff Carroll. Are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to the intro here. But
Sure. I think first of all, thank you for the invite. And I've had the opportunity to present to the team once before. And as we've been talking to a lot of family offices, a lot of seed raise investment community folks, it reinforces you guys have built something special, and there's a deeper level of conversation and community you guys have built. So cheers to you. And it's also fun to see what's out there. I was trying to throw my money through the screen speaking of berries, Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life last month too. So congratulations to the Berry Organics team and to Fantasy Life.
we're just there's a berry theme in the investments.
And we'll just double check if Stephanie, our co-founder, is here with us.
I'm here.
Perfect.
Okay.
You can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, good. I don't know if you guys can see me. I'm in the yellow blazer, the yellow jacket.
We do see you.
But there's so many of you on the call. It's good to see everyone. So I'm going to jump right into Jeff. I might ask you to drive. It's not giving me the share.
Okay, one second.
Or maybe it is. Let's see. I hate when I use time doing this. Do you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay,
We
good.
see
You
that.
do. Perfect. Let me just go to my slideshow view. Okay, perfect. Great. And you see my screen, yes?
Yes. You
Okay,
got
good.
it.
Great. I'm Stephanie Sprangers, the founder and CEO of Glam Hive. We are a platform democratizing the personal styling industry. So our mission is to make expert fashion guidance accessible to everyone, anywhere, empowering them to live their best life through style. The problem that we're addressing, frankly, is people don't know how to dress. And they ask themselves 36 times a year, what should I wear? Most people don't wear 80% of what's in their wardrobe. So they have a ton of clothes, yet they don't know what to wear. Stylists, on the other hand, they don't know how to grow their businesses. So they're experts in their field, but they don't know how to generate clients. So the solution for people is to connect them with stylists, offering styling services across all price points. For stylists is to help them generate clients, but even more to help them build their business, and for us to build their business through Glam Hive. So our platform basically empowers stylists and consumers through scalable services, tools, and a thriving ecosystem. So what's important about Glam Hive today is that we're not just coming to you saying that we build a platform or a marketplace. I've spent the last 6 years really working on building an entire ecosystem that supports the entire business. And so we're a marketplace that gives unparalleled access to the best stylists in the world. And we're also a styling platform that enables that virtual styling experience. And we also provide stylists not just with the technology, but also education and business support. Who are our stylists? So our stylists range from the top stylists in Hollywood, so those that you would see in the Hollywood Reporter, to expert stylists, elite stylists, and emerging stylists in the industry. And that enables us to offer styling services across all price points. Our target market and TAM. So I keep moving myself around the screen. I like to see you guys, but I think I might just need to diminish that for a little bit. So our target market is broad. It's women 30 to 70 plus, men generally 30 to 65 years old. They're married, they're bachelors, they're the top 1%, they're business professionals. Their income has a wide range, 75,000 all the way to 5 million plus. And when we look at TAM, what we're looking at is the fashion industry. So $1.7 trillion is spent on clothing, shoes, and jewelry every single year. And it's largely wasted. If we go back to that statistic that most people don't even wear 80% of what they buy. The personal styling industry is an industry that exists. It's already an $11 billion industry. And we would assert that it would be bigger by actually democratizing and making creating a place where people actually know that they can hire a stylist. Our revenue model, we drive revenue basically 3 different ways: through client bookings. So that would be a traditional 25% that we take of all style sessions. Our current CPA is about $147 on an average order value of about $3,300. And so that's people coming to the platform, paying for a styling service and our acquisition cost. Stylists also pay to be members. So we have a stylist subscription that's $79 a month. Our CPA on that is $120. The LTV on the subscription is about $1,000. Added to the LTV is the money that we make off of the stylists when we're helping them build their business. So today, the LTV on the service side for those stylists is about almost $15,000. And as we drive more consumer demand gen, which is the purpose of this raise, that will increase to $30,000 to $150,000 per stylist. So what we're essentially doing is taking a cut of their income. And then we do partnerships. So how I've built this business as a solopreneur, which is something I'd love to highlight, for many, many years, I've just been cranking away at this, figuring out the industry, how it works, how to connect it, how to be a voice in the industry. I've done a lot of partnerships, and those partnerships range from $5,000 to about $350,000. And it's from companies ranging from Chase Bank to Mary Kay Global, to many people that you could think of. In terms of our results and our traction to date. So when we look at, as angel investors or early stage investors, a lot of investors come in and you're really betting on a company before they've built anything or gone to market. With Glamhive, we built our platform. So we already have figured out the mechanics on the back end. We've shipped the technology. We hold a patent on some of it. We have developed brand authority. So Glamhive coming into the fashion space, I don't come from the fashion world. I come from strategic partnerships in consumer internet and SaaS software sales. It really was important to establish the authority so that people felt like we were a place that they could come to not only be stylists, because it's actually a very elite group, but also that clients could come and know that they're working with great stylists. And we've built a thriving network of some of the top image makers in the world, as well as a community of stylists. So today we have about 7,200 registered stylists. Through our Glamhive live events, they're basically, you can think of it like BeautyCon or Gwyneth Paltrow's In Goop Health. We do style summits. We've done 14 of them. And when we say we, I largely mean, again, I've been working on this company a lot as a solopreneur. We've done 14 events from London to New York to LA. We've had about 450 speakers. We've never paid one of them. And these speakers are women that are billionaires in the business, celebrity stylists, hair, makeup designers, and other entrepreneurs in the industry of fashion. We have an affiliate program, so we have over 250 affiliate partners. I come from the affiliate space. We're integrated with Rakuten. We've done about 2.2 million in revenue 2020 forward. And we've gone through the kind of the LTV. So when we look at past revenue, as a pie chart, it's largely weighted towards partnerships. As I was cranking on the business and just figuring out kind of how it worked and taking a lot of risk off of the table for you, but onto me, how I drove revenue was through partnerships. So 36 was through the platform. So we know that the platform works, that people will get styled virtually, which was a big thing that I heard from investors when I started, that nobody would want to. The pandemic certainly helped that. But looking forward, that will shift dramatically. So 88% of our revenue we project will come from the platform. That's a primary business, with 11% coming through partnerships. And why partnerships are important is that it enables us to bring in revenue as we're actually building the brand of Glamhive. We're projecting to hit 34 million in 36 months post fundraise. And that's across all of our different revenue channels. So when we look at competitors, we look at box services like Stitch Fix, Daily Look, used to be Trunk Club. On the personal side, you can look at companies like Wishy or Nordstrom. Wishy isn't as well known, but it's a flat fee for basically getting shoppable mood boards. And then on the high end, you have a company called Editorialist that was started by Rafael Ortiz, who is the founder of Nextag. This is very, very high end, where the entry fee is almost $10,000 just to get started. When we look at milestones, our goal post fundraise is to keep our staff small, but ramp our staff to support the growth. Onboard 100 top stylists onto the marketplace side of Glam Hive to ensure that we have a great supply side that's ready to fulfill even more demand. We'll ramp up our search marketing and content marketing, and then we'll get back into the business of our summits, which will be in real life big summits as well as pop-ups across the country. These tend to be underwritten by partners. We'll then move into launching our app with a strong focus again on sales, onboarding the stylists, converting them into paid members, scaling our search efforts. Next year, we will launch into beauty. So what I'm seeing in beauty is the same thing I saw in fashion, which is people are wanting virtual tutorials one-on-one. They're wanting people to tell them what to buy from a beauty perspective. So we will do corporate partnerships to offer our services, launch beauty, and then continue to grow the subscriptions. Towards the end of next year, we are working on an AI solution, and we believe that that will launch. It will essentially be a daily stylist vis-a-vis a video upload of your wardrobe. Then the AI will kick off what you can wear every single day. We're raising $2 million as a seed round. The use of funds, about $200,000 to just enhance our tech. There's not a lot of money here that needs to be spent in tech. We've cranked on that for years. $900,000 will go towards revenue-focused growth marketing. 560 towards our team, 330 towards operations. So when you think about Glam Hive, you can think of a company like Rover in LA, it's WAG, but basically what they did for pet care and dog walking, what Soothe did for the wellness industry, this is what Glam Hive is doing for style. On our team side, I'm the founder. Jeff Carroll is our CRO. We have a VP of marketing and operations who I've known for 7 years. She's amazing. Our CTO will be Fractional. He was the co-founder of Hydra Media, which was a $100 million digital ad platform. He recently was the co-founder and CTO of drinks.com. He's amazing. And then we're bringing on as a stylist educator, Lauren Messiah, who started School of Style, the nation's #1 stylist educator. And then for AI, it's two brothers that are well known in LA, Zach and Austin Hurst, and they're the ones that we're developing our AI in partnership with. I have raised capital in the past. And so current board members and investors, Jonathan Sposato, who started GeekWire, he had a big exit of PicMonkey recently. Mitz Bonahari, who was early to Workivia, they had a $5 billion exit. Carrie Colbert, I met her when she was transitioning from Angel to VC. So she has Curate Capital. And then we have advisors who are just experts in the industry. So that's the deck.
Amazing. We might actually be ahead of schedule, which never happens for us. But
I talked as fast as I could.
Great job, Stephanie. Does anyone have questions?
I just have a quick comment because I apologize. I have to run, but follow up with me because I have a family office out of Indonesia that does in fashion that might be a good match, and they have presence in LA.
Oh, great.
I apologize. I missed the part about how you guys actually get customers, and so I'm like, but I don't want to ask any backwards questions. So I'll look at you guys later. I trust Garrett's opinion, so I'll just follow up with me. It's just Darren@lava.org.
Okay, good. Thanks, Darren.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Darren. And the Asian road trip is really impressive. And we talked to a team out of Singapore actually earlier this week who's also got a deep fashion tech background. So one thing I'd add, my background is Silicon Valley product management. I was first in ad tech and then in services, which are very relevant here. Then I moved on to entertainment marketing. So I was with Activision Blizzard for about a decade, corrupting many of your use. But I also spun off and started the partnerships and licensing team for Activision and started the big partnerships you recognize to this day, like Jeep and PepsiCo, Mountain Dew, Monster Energy. And then I started a kids brand called Firefly that we sold to private equity a couple times in the $200 million range, where I led product and licensing, where partnerships were a big part of that. And then I pivoted to fashion tech the last couple of years. And during that, I've been able to work with the top brands, both lifestyle and luxury, on moving, how are they bringing the next generation customers into their brands? And I've been working with I've been at a lot of events with DressX, so it's amazing to see that ride. And what we're finding is, these brands are competing for customers' time, not product necessarily. And that's how I connected with Stephanie. So really influencing the tastemakers within the industry, the high value clients. Where DressX attacks that on the digital side, we're attacking it very much on the tastemaking side. I think professionals are a big part of who we also can service here. Also, we are in second round conversations with both CAA and UTA on the talent side, both on the ventures investment angle and on talent as well, because you can imagine where styling like the stars, bringing in a celebrity talent, that really helps our acquisition marketing as well as our investment. And in terms of investment, Stephanie can give some good updates there. But I'm having her not speak with traditional VC. It's really primarily people who, family offices, folks who come from a fashion tech background, like the Textile Group, Bonobos folks we're talking to, as well as those have an authentic interest or alumni from fashion or fashion tech or SaaS specifically, because I think there's a really tight-knit community and monetizable SaaS community that's a big part of what we're doing here as well. So just to give you some context for ongoing discussions. And Amazon, as you can imagine, is a little behind on fashion. They're making up for that quickly. You saw their joint venture with Neiman Marcus and Saks. We talked to the team at Amazon, who's actually going to be driving all product and acquisition for that team post regulatory clearance. So they said that your timing is impeccable. We're working with them on follow-up meetings and perhaps events. And you can see where they're looking to differentiate on service and high-end clients and attracting them to the platform. So those are some other exciting discussions underway right now.
I love DressX, by the way. I know those ladies. They're really innovative. Yeah.
Yeah, they're some of our favorites.
Who are you talking to at UTA?
Pardon? We had a call. I started out with Andrew Thau, COO. I think he's recently he's not the COO anymore. He went into sports. Who are we talking to at UTA now? I don't remember their names.
I think it's Frank on the East Coast, and then and it's all on Paul Yu's team on the venture side. So the ventures group at UTA.
Okay, yeah, because Sam Wick is my main contact there ever since Clinton Floyd left. So,
fantastic! Yeah, I had worked with Clinton with UTA before, but he's Mr. Wick has always led the whole group, so we'd love the chance to meet him at some point.
Great. The agency people really do understand me. I live in Seattle. I don't come from the fashion world. I don't know how much I've covered about that, but the agency people do kind of see it, because they think, when I would go to LA, people thought I was like trying to start an agency. I'm like, no, I'm using technology. I'm not gonna have a bunch of agents. Like, we're basically the same thing, but not. So we've had some interesting, we're in some interesting conversations with people that know the styling world very well in LA, and most of them have said that they wish I'd reached out sooner. And I said, well, 5 years ago, trust me, you wouldn't have called me back. I had to really kind of penetrate the market, which has been great. So we have a really nice foundation that we can run fast and hard with.
Great. Perfect. Okay, let's roll on through unless there are any other questions. All right, so the next company here is Orbit Genomics. So Randy is a successful serial founder. He was introduced to us through Nachi, one of our partners. Orbit is developing diagnostic tests for certain types of cancer and cardiovascular disorders, among other potential applications. So welcome, Randy, and you can take it away.
Well, I tell you what, thanks to Nachi, but I will pass the baton over to our co-founder and CEO, Didi Bullis.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Oops. Is it letting me? Oh, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, thank you. This has been really interesting. I love the diversity of the companies you have here. We are quite different from both of your first ones, but I'm interested in both of those companies. So Orbit Genomics, at Orbit Genomics, we're transforming complex disease diagnosis, treatment, and our ultimate goal is prevention. Our patent pending OrbiSeq platform is the result of decades of research by our scientific co-founder and CSO, former Professor Skip Garner. OrbiSeq analyzes novel markers that uniquely reflect not just your inherited disease risk, but also the risk you've acquired from living. OrbiSeq also evaluates markers for potential ethnicity and gender bias so that our products are effective for everyone. And we can use OrbiSeq to diagnose disease, identify treatment targets, as well as ultimately prevent diseases. And it can be applied to really any complex disease, including cancer, heart disease, and neurological diseases. The markers we look at are repetitive DNA called microsatellites. They're short repeats of 1 to 6 base pairs. Now, if you're familiar with microsatellite instability testing, that's not what we do. There are about 1 million microsatellites throughout your entire genome in all different regions, and they're extremely sensitive to changes in genomic and cellular stress. In fact, we've shown that they mutate 10,000 times faster than genetic mutations, also known as SNPs, that are the most studied part of your genome. But unlike a SNP, when the stress decreases, some of the mutations will actually reverse. So they reflect your current genomic health. We're the only company analyzing microsatellites throughout your entire genome, which is probably why you may not have heard of them. And that's because we're the only company that can. Next-gen sequencing is focused on genetic mutations, or SNPs, where one base pair changes to another. Microsatellites are short repeats of 1 to 6 base pairs, for instance, the repeat CG, and they mutate by changing in the number of repeats or changing in length, and they're extremely difficult to analyze. Skip has demonstrated that next-gen sequencing misassembles microsatellites 80% of the time, so you can't analyze them when you're just looking at noise. Our proprietary algorithms are based on 7 NIH grants totaling $15.6 million and resulting in 47 peer-reviewed publications. Recent improvements to next-gen sequencing, along with the addition of AI to our algorithms, enable us to improve the accuracy from 20% to over 95%. And by comparing the genomes of healthy individuals, thousands of healthy people, to people with different diseases, we've identified mutations specific to those diseases. We have a really strong intellectual property position that ensures we'll maintain our status as the microsatellite company. Our patent counsel is Wilson Sonsini, who is also an investor in Orbit. And our first product addresses lung cancer, the world's deadliest cancer. Today, lung cancer is diagnosed with low-dose CT scans, which are extremely sensitive, and they pick up a lot of things that may not be cancer. Every year in the US alone, 2.5 to 3 million people have scans that have indeterminate pulmonary nodules, which can't be diagnosed just from the scan. So they're given the option to either undergo an expensive and invasive lung biopsy, which frequently has complications, or they can wait and get rescanned to see if the nodule changes, knowing they might have cancer, and with a typical waiting time of 1 year. So our first product addresses this huge unmet need as a non-invasive alternative to diagnose indeterminate nodules right away, rather than either waiting a year or having to go through a biopsy. We've just finished optimizing and finalizing our commercial test using samples from patients with indeterminate nodules from the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, which is one of the leading lung cancer screening groups in the country. And our test demonstrated an unprecedented 96% positive predictive value and 98% negative predictive value. We just shared the data with our principal investigators, Drs. Claudia Henschke and David Yankelevitz, who are responsible for and were behind the studies that led to low-dose CT screening as the current standard. They have already tested or are currently testing pretty much every single test that's on the market today or in development. And when we shared the data with them just 2 weeks ago, their response was, wow, nothing else comes close. And they keep bugging me as to when we're starting clinical trials. Both the clinicians and insurers estimate, based on this data, that our simple blood test could help them avoid 500,000 unnecessary biopsies annually, which would save $6 billion in procedural costs alone. Using a $1,700 reimbursement rate, which is below what insurers tell us they'd probably reimburse it for, but we're assuming some price erosion, we would have a gross margin of 85%, and the global market for molecular diagnostics for lung cancer without any significant innovations is expected to exceed $4 billion by 2030. Our business model starts with our OrbiSeq platform. And as I said, we're starting with a diagnostic test for lung cancer, which we're preparing to start clinical trials with soon. And while we're in clinical trials, our second product, which is directed at prevention, is a single test for risk of multiple cancers. And we'll be developing that product, completing development while we're in clinical trials for lung cancer. Our diagnostic tests will be launched in the US directly by us. We have a CLIA laboratory here, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and we have a fully operational CLIA lab. And then outside of the US, we'll partner with regional partners who will have exclusive license to our products in their region, and they'll be responsible for both the regulatory clearance as well as selling the products. We have a license with one of our first investors, New Horizon Health, who is China's leading cancer screening company, and they have the license for the Chinese market. Our exit scenario is most likely an acquisition. That's typical for diagnostics, but because we truly are a platform, an IPO is not out of the question, and we expect an exit to be possible as soon as we launch OrbiSeq L. We also, as I mentioned, can address treatment of diseases, but we'll only do that in collaboration with others because it's really, I've had pharmaceutical products before, and that's a different team. So we are currently discussing with the Mayo Clinic, however, to develop companion diagnostics in cardiovascular disease for a drug they are getting ready to start clinical trials on. And then we also have identified therapeutic targets for a few cancers, which we will either out-license or spin out. We've had significant market validation in the 2.5 years that we've been operational. We just graduated from the inaugural cohort of the White House-sponsored Cancer X Accelerator. They chose 16 companies that were representing their goal, or that could help achieve their goal of cutting cancer deaths in half in the next 20 years. We have 2 primary sponsors there. They're both future customers of ours, Advocate Health, who is instrumental because they're in the Carolinas where lung cancer reimbursement rates are the highest because they have the worst outcomes, as well as Moffitt Cancer Center in Florida. We also applied for, and we're just 2 points outside of the automatic funding range and are waiting to hear.
Taking the Tesla. My
If
phone
we'll
to
get
get
our
in.
funding. And for that agreement, we will work with the Icahn School of Medicine as well as Kaiser Permanente and also Jewish National. And that grant is a $2 million 2-year grant to develop our next version of OrbiSeq L, which would not only diagnose cancer, but also give you the subtype. So that means anybody with lung cancer could avoid a biopsy. Orbit was founded by a team of serial entrepreneurs, including Randy and myself. We've all worked together in past endeavors, and collectively, we've co-founded 11 life science companies with successful exits. And we're strongly supported by a team of world-renowned advisors who are all acknowledged leaders in their fields, including geneticist George Church, who has been behind every next-gen sequencing innovation there is, and cancer expert John Minna. We were operating virtually until our first funding in early 2022, where we raised $3.3 million. Once we raised that funding, we set up our CLIA lab here, hired everyone, and our entire operational team has worked with me or Skip previously in other companies. And then we established our key collaborations and just recently finished our lung cancer test. And we also completed our commercial platform, OrbiSeq platform, that will be used for all future products. We're raising a 2 million bridge note to get us to our next fundraising, our next equity round. We decided to do this in order to ensure that we could get to clinical trials, because back in May, the FDA issued a final ruling saying they were taking over lab developed tests. Under the old rules, we could launch our test without their review. They issued this ruling. It now looks to be in significant jeopardy. Congress requested last month that they rescind the rule. The head of the group that issued the rule is retiring, so we really don't expect it to go through. And we had always anticipated we might have to go through the FDA. I've taken other products through them. So all of our systems are set up for the FDA, other than we don't have an FDA approved sequencer. So we would have to swap that out, which Illumina is willing to do if this ruling comes into play. But right now, everything, all of the writing on the wall says it's not going to happen. So our next step, regardless of what happens, is to validate OrbiSeq L. That'll take about 4 months, because we do have to wait for a panel to be developed by Illumina. And then we'll start our clinical trials, and the bridge note will get us into the initial clinical trials, but it's not enough for us to complete the trials and launch the product. We will need to raise a next equity round of $15 million to launch OrbiSeq. If we go through the current regulatory pathway, we expect that to be the final raise and an exit point then when we launch OrbiSeq L. The equity round we're raising is $15 million, and that will primarily be used to launch, to conduct clinical trials, and to launch the product either as an LDT or through the FDA. While we're doing clinical trials, we will complete our pan-cancer panel and start studies on it. And as I said, we really think that once we have our first product in the market, that's a likely time for exits. And then our current investors include New Horizon Health that I mentioned, who has the license for our products in China. And HH Venture Fund is a new venture fund with New Horizon Health as one of their LPs. And then we were also invested in by Rocky's Venture Club here in Colorado, as well as Wilson Sonsini's investment arm. And then Ventec Partners is a group that Randy and I belong to, along with our chairman, that actually founded and did the initial funding along with Skip for Orbit Genomics. So I just have one last slide, which is I had asked George for a quote on OrbiSeq, and he said, "We are the first genomics test for the masses," and there's really a dual meaning behind that. The first is that it's the first test that actually can help a healthy person. It's clinically actionable. We can help prevent people from getting diseases. If you've taken a genetic test and you're healthy, it says all over the results, this is not actionable. You probably shouldn't do anything, because it's giving population risk, and we aren't. We're giving truly personalized risk analysis. And the second meaning is that it works for all of us, because we do look at we look at genetic ethnicity, not self-reported ethnicity, to ensure our tests are effective for all of us, regardless of our ancestry. So, yeah. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Do we have any questions?
I'll start off by first saying I met Randy a couple of years ago through his prior company, RSF Bio, which was really fantastic. And I got to know him also through the Oxford Angel Fund. We had invested in RSF Bio, and within maybe 2 years or 3 years, he'd exited the company, and we'd seen a nice positive return on the investment, which was fantastic. And so I got to know Randy through that and through some of the companies he's been building. I'll also go ahead and ask the first question. So there is a false negative rate of a couple of percent. I'm curious, what happens if somebody makes it through the false negative rate? Do they do they have a follow-up CT to see any progression, or if they made it through, it's likely that a repeat test, they would still make it through a repeat test, right?
It really varies depending on where their cancer is. And also the follow-up depends on their risk factors. So there are multiple different guidelines for lung cancer. It actually gets really complicated depending on whether you have any family history, or if you have any smoking history or pollution history. If they're in that range where they're high risk, they would then come back for screening. If they're concerned or worried about it, then most clinicians will tell them to come back. On all of we tested 125 samples, and we only had about 2 false negatives, actually, in all of them, which is better than anything else. And the reason none of the other tests are getting tested is because most of them have around a 50% false negative rate versus our 98%. So, and this, so our goal is to have 0, but I tell everyone when they ask me, both my brothers are docs, one's actually pulmonologist, and he'll ask me, what does it mean when so-and-so says they have 100% sensitivity or specificity? And I said, it means they haven't tested enough people. So we're really, really pleased with this, but you're right. There is still a risk there. But hopefully we'll catch people early when the disease is treatable.
I'll ask one more question too. How are the microsatellite regions identified? Are these known in advance, or are we actively identifying the ones of interest?
We know all of the microsatellite locations, which is part of our secret sauce. So if you look at the location, the example I gave you, there may be 50,000 CG repeats throughout your genome. So we have to know exactly where they are. We have to be able to correctly assemble the 3 billion base pairs to do that. So that is part of our secret sauce. And then for every disease, we compare healthy individuals to diseased ones, and we identify the regions. And in cancer, we've looked at about a dozen cancers, and there are different microsatellites specific to the different cancers. We are also working, our second test will be giving subtypes. So even for subtypes, we can differentiate. We can already do a fairly good job of that now. There are a few that are common to all, just like there are for genetic mutations. And we also look at SNPs as well to see ones that we know are somehow involved in a disease, to see where the microsatellites are, because biologically, many of the microsatellites are actually in regulatory regions around the gene. So they're affecting how those genes perform.
And so is methylation status of these CGs, like how do you manage that? Because it'll obviously change the type of activity if they're in regulatory regions.
Right. So the CG repeat is actually causing methylation, a lot of the methylation. And so we do find a lot of informative locations, microsatellites that are CGs and probably are driving methylation. So that's why we believe there are a couple of reasons why we have better signals than the methylation test. That's one of them, is because we're actually driving some of the methylation. But the other is because we're looking at all of the DNA in your blood, as opposed to Grail's test for methylation is looking for methylation coming from tumor cells. And that's, it's not looking for a needle in a haystack, it's looking for a needle in the Pacific Ocean, as opposed to we're looking at, fish in the ocean, I guess, or more than that.
Yeah. Elizabeth, if I can maybe chime into, look, I know this group has looked at a lot of different types of companies. I know we're putting a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo out there right now, and but at the same time, look, as Nachi said, I was the former CEO of Rancho Santa Fe Bio. We sold that company for 300 million plus royalties, and so we spent a lot of time on it, and I think we have a real good team here. So why am I interested in this company that seems to be doing a lot of funky scientific stuff? Well, this company, many of the genomics companies are looking at the 2% of a person's genome. This company is looking at the junk DNA, which is 98% of a person's genome. What's interesting here is this is where the precision answer is. So Didi has a quote that she uses that they say at Cancer X, is that the future of cancer treatment is really not in therapeutics. The future of cancer treatment is in diagnostics, so we can find and diagnose people earlier. So we believe that this company really, is that precision space that all genomics diagnostics companies have to go in. Why do we pick lung cancer? Because it's the hardest. Because it's one of the biggest markets. It's the really mean SOB on the block. And so what What this company has been able to do is to say, hey, look, we have now the most accurate lung cancer test out there. Once we get into clinical trials, I have no doubt this company will be bought in 2 to 2.5 years by Illumina, Grail, possibly LabCorp. One of those big companies out there that have been throwing billions of dollars at this problem. The truth is, Orbit was ahead of the curve. This company started in 2017, as Didi said, skip one, $14 million of government grants. This company survived in government grants until the market caught up with it. Right now, we believe we are at the precipice of this industry. And I like this company so much in that what we're doing right now is we're going back to the Mayo Clinic, where I actually out-licensed a phase 3 a cardiovascular drug called Itacitinib. We're going back now and we're creating a diagnostic, a companion diagnostic that can be used along with that test. So I just maybe summarizing the overall then. So this is the missing piece. This is the precision missing piece. This company will be bought very quickly. We've got a $2 million bridge note. We've got 250,000 of that in the bank already. We've got soft commitments for probably another 700,000. We want to finish the bridge note pretty quickly. We'd love to have you guys, and Nachi has been an advocate here amongst a number of platforms. And so, look, we've done it once. We've gotten very good returns. We really believe that this company, is that next home run. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rennie. Didi, I have a question for you about the AI and the data acquisition. So one of the things I've seen in this vertical is a challenge around the volume of data for AI to really work effectively, and like actually unique patients, not just sort of replication of data. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, we are extremely, I'm a strong believer in studying failures, both your own and everyone else's. And there have been many companies that came in with products for lung cancer. I am lucky that I know most of their CTOs or CMOs, and I've gotten a lot of inside information. I've even looked at a lot of their data, and they've shared it with me. And overfitting data using AI is really, really common. So we have spent, part of why it's taken us this long to get our final test is we have done all sorts of analyses to ensure that's not what we're doing. And we are very confident now that I have 125 patients from Mount Sinai that we've tested. The other issue that people have is you do testing on specific patient groups or different things, and it's not really the target of where you're going to go. And we started the same way. The academic research was just cancer versus healthy people. We now have looked at purely people with indeterminate pulmonary nodules, many of whom have other lung diseases. So we've really done that, and we've gone through all sorts of iterations and completely, since we've been operational, basically redone our AI modeling to make sure we aren't doing what you were just saying. We've thrown all sorts of things in there. We've thrown in some fake data. We do all sorts of things. And this is the most confident, in the last month, it's the most confident I have been at all. I mean, people ask me what's the biggest risk. I always say it's biology when you're in life sciences. We have de-risked it significantly, and I'm feeling really, really very, very good about what we've done. And all of the statistical analysis we've done to ensure it's correct. Our CSO is actually a plasma physicist, which by training, which is a mathematician, but he was recruited to co-direct one of the first human genome centers because of his different background some 25 years ago. And so he also looks at things very differently, and evaluating the numbers and making sure that we don't have overfitting has been the biggest priority we've had.
And I'm glad it's high on the radar for you. Do you have sort of a roadmap going forward of increasing that data acquisition, and what does that look like, and from a volume
Yes.
perspective?
The other huge part of all of that is we can take existing databases, and we have gone through, that's also taken us a year to figure out how we can meld them into other databases without the AI just picking up database differences, because that's really, really common.
Yeah.
We now can do that, and we do a lot of visual modeling to make sure it's working. So we have over 10,000 genomes that we've already reassembled from microsatellites of both healthy people and people with diseases. We have, through our scientific advisory board, we just accessed a small cell lung cancer database that is privately held by university. They let us have access to it. We have access to quite a few different ones through the Cancer X program, the Atrium Health. They are a nonprofit organization, and they have the most diverse set of lung cancer patients I've seen anywhere in the country, because they send 2 buses out with low-dose CT scanners on it into the community, and they scan uninsured people. And because they are so helpful to these people, they get 100% permission to use their DNA for studies. So they're providing us, we're signing material transfer agreements with both them as well as Moffitt Cancer Center. So our innovators are so excited. We've actually I haven't had to ask people to do in clinical trials. I'm actually going to have to tell a lot that they can't. We have people coming to us when they see what we're doing, and they all want to participate. So
That's great. Those numbers make me feel a lot more confident. That's exciting.
Mhm.
Does anyone else
And the
have
$2 million grant is all for sample acquisition, because we'll have to do a lot of prospective to make sure we have representation of all of the cancer types as well as different ethnicities.
Great. Great.
Can I ask one more question, actually?
yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Raj.
Very rudimentary question. Given that the project started with NIH funding, what is the intellectual property here?
So we were operating virtually, and Skip was doing a lot of academic studies, which were truly academic. And since we have and so all of that, everything we've done since we got our real funding, we completely rebuilt all of our platform, including all of the algorithms. We don't use any of the old algorithms we used to use. We've completely rebuilt everything. We've reassembled all of the genomes that we had access to using our new algorithms. And all of the IP is 100% owned by Orbit Genomics. We also, in addition to the first patent application that's in the national phase, and we do have indications both from the US as well as internationally that we will get claims through. The second patent application we just filed in March of this year. We have 2 more that we're waiting to file for when we raise the 15 million, but we have a very strong patent strategy with Wilson Sonsini, but all of the IP belongs to Orbit Genomics.
Right. That sounds reasonable. So the intellectual property is basically the derivative of research, which you, of course, own. What about the data and data analysis? Is there intellectual property there?
There's a lot there. How we can meld in different data sets is kept trade secret, as well as all of our algorithms. That's the suggestion from Wilson Sonsini. We also have a whole database of the genomes that we've resequenced. Those all belong to us. Some are from public databases, some are private, and some are ones we've acquired ourselves, and we continue to grow that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a quick question, if you don't mind me asking, at the risk of asking a really stupid question. With regard to a lot of the cancer diagnoses, usually a lot of cancers are created locally, right? Particularly different types of lung cancer are created because of things that have affected the lungs. With genetic tests, you're testing the DNA that you're getting wherever, like from the spit, from the saliva, et cetera, et cetera. To what extent is like the entire system's DNA affected by external forces versus localized effects? Like if, people are saying you get tumors because you listen to, EMF and it's close to your head and you're going to have localized tumors. So if the cancer is localized, wouldn't the damage on the DNA be localized too? And then
how are you like taking? You're nodding your head, so I'm just going to stop asking my question.
Yeah, no, and that's not a stupid question at all, and it's one that yeah, that everyone has initially, including myself. So what we know is that the mutations, microsatellites have been called nature's tuning knobs. They're really studied in plant biology, where plants get onslaughts of droughts to floods overnight, and they make up more of their genome than humans. Well, they do this, they're called nature's tuning knobs because they very often are either reacting to stress, and sometimes they're causing it. Many of them are in areas that are repair regions. So when you get a tumor in your brain because of something that's gone awry, because tumors are basically rogue cells that have gone awry, a lot of times the microsatellites will come into play to try and repair them. So there is a propagation rate. I can't tell you how fast they go through. That's one of the things we'll have to do for risk testing. We know that there are some mutations that you only find in tumors that you don't find in your blood, but we know there are enough mutations in your blood to actually diagnose the disease. And how we find therapeutic targets is by looking at tumors and comparing them to blood and seeing what has mutated in the tumor itself that hasn't propagated elsewhere. But we also can find enough mutations in the blood to diagnose that you have cancer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you, Didi. Okay, so we'll jump here to definitely a different topic. So I want to introduce Olivia with Kids Care
Excuse me.
Finder. Oh,
Hi, this is Sally DeWitt. I have a question for Didi and Randy. Will the lung cancer test be able to diagnose mesothelioma early on?
That is our expectation. We don't have a whole lot of samples right now, but yes, we are so far, and that's why we're doing trials to collect and working with people to collect as many different samples as possible. And most of the indeterminate pulmonary nodules are stage 1 or 1A or 1B samples. Some are stage 2, but they're all very early cancers, and that's what we've been diagnosing now.
Thank you, because that one starts out very early and you don't find out about it until far too late.
Absolutely. And that's really, that is, as Randy said, why the Cancer X program does not have any therapeutic companies in it. In order to cut deaths in half, we need to do better screening and diagnose earlier.
I do have one more question. Have you guys talked to the folks at the American Cancer Society?
We have we talked to them early on, and one of our goals will be to get our test made as really part of the standard when we go forward. But I haven't talked to them recently. If you have,
I'd love to know sort of Alice Pompanillo's sort of position on where you guys are. If you're familiar with her, she runs their innovation fund. We bring her out once a year to talk to family offices about cancer. So.
Oh, great.
If you have a contact person, I would love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move any other questions over to chat, and we can also absolutely have follow-ups. And the founders, I haven't been saying this each time, but please put your emails into the chat. Also for the attendees, the emails are in the agenda in the calendar invite. So if you want to connect directly, that works as well. Okay. So Olivia with Kids Care Finder. So Olivia has a solid background in financial services, a team with previous exits, and a clear path and exit plan for her company. Garrett met her at OC Startup Day. This is one of an earlier opportunity, the type that we like to see early and track and watch progress. So Olivia, please take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me get my screen loaded up here. All right, everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Olivia Rutman, and I am the founder and CEO of Kids Care Finder. I am here to talk to you about a massive American crisis that is absolutely desperate for a solution: finding childcare. Searching for childcare can be impossible, driving over 1 million parents out of the workforce every year. It also puts huge strains on the American economy, with $122 billion lost each year due to childcare issues. There are 3 main reasons the childcare crisis is so bad: cost, access, and supply. Existing childcare websites are not working because they don't address each of these 3 buckets that make up the problem. And the problem spans far beyond just childcare. There's sports, camps, healthcare providers, and so much more. And every time a child has a new need, parents have to start all over again from scratch. But what if that weren't the case? What if there was one place parents could go for all child-related services? What if they could filter by what they need, when they need it, by age, by schedule, or other important specifics? What if parents could find trusted providers that meet all of their needs in just minutes, as opposed to spending weeks or even months searching? Well, now they can. Introducing Kids Care Finder, a game-changing childcare platform that connects parents with all the child-related services they need for their kids from birth to grown. Think of it kind of like an Angie's List for kids. Not only that, but our patent-pending technology makes us the only childcare platform that helps to reduce childcare costs and grow supply, which are the top 2 reasons parents are forced to leave their jobs. Unlike our competitors, we are the only childcare platform pulling all child-related services into one place. We're also the only platform that actually addresses cost and supply, where other platforms are only solving for access. So how do we do this? Let's start with cost. On average, families are spending 27% of their income on childcare, which equates to $18,000 per kid per year. Those numbers are even higher here in California, and infant care is the most expensive of all. Our industry-disrupting nanny share category allows 2 families to share a nanny and split the cost, creating an average savings of over $20,000 a year per family. When it comes to access, we're the only childcare platform offering such a broad range of childcare options. What that does is it gives parents a plan B, C, D, and so on if their plan A doesn't work out, dramatically increasing their chances of success. We're also industry leaders in terms of our filtering capabilities. This makes it fast and easy to find not just a provider, but to find the right provider. Next, we have supply. Currently, the childcare problem is bigger than the childcare market itself. That means we have to grow the market. Our patent-pending technology reduces tedious administrative tasks for providers while also helping them fill openings. We're also creating blog content, walking caregivers through the licensing process. All of this makes it much easier for more caregivers to open childcare centers. A couple of bonus advantages of our platform are provider vetting and time savings. We give parents so much detailed information about provider programs up front, including reviews and introduction videos, and all providers are licensed, checked, or background checked. We also help save parents countless hours over the years with our automation technology. Our largest population of parents right now are millennials, and most households have 2 working parents. These millennial parents need help, and having 40 different apps that do 40 different things is not helpful. Not only are we that one-stop shop, but we have streamlined so much of the back and forth between the parents and the childcare providers. The days of filling out hours of painful childcare applications and enrollment forms and never knowing where you stand on a wait list will now all be nightmares of the past. The total TAM in the US for childcare is $65 billion and growing. Right now, we are hyper-focused on the California market, and our SOM in just California is $75 million. Our CAC in 2023 for our pilot was around $20. This year, we should land about $12. We had a little less marketing spend. Next year, we'll likely see it spike to $30 while we ramp up our marketing efforts. But then in 2026, we believe we can get it to settle back down around $12. We have about 5 million users in California that fit into our target market. We'll be leveraging social media mom influencers, ambassadors, and digital marketing to acquire parents. And we've taken a data-first approach on the provider side, so we already have data for over 35,000 childcare providers in just California live on our site. This allows us to acquire the providers over time so we can be hyper-focused on the parent acquisition. It's very similar to Yelp's model and how they were able to scale so quickly by loading in the data first. We're estimating our LTV to be 5 years conservatively, and by the end of 2026, we believe we can achieve an LTV to CAC ratio of 21:1. We have a B2B SaaS revenue model with a marketplace component. So I have coined the term SaaSy marketplace to describe our model. We earn our revenue from provider subscription fees, advertising and affiliate revenue, background checks, and one-time transactional fees. We have made a ton of progress on this concept in a small amount of time. We have a 2.0 platform live, and as I mentioned, data for over 35,000 providers on the site. We've acquired over 500 early users and brought in our first revenue dollars. We were also finalists this year for the San Diego Angel Conference, where we made it to the top 4 out of over 100 companies, and we were the People's Choice winner. That group has done full due diligence on us and has invested through an SPV. We will roll out all of our care categories in phases. Right now, phase 1 is launched on our site, and we'll complete all of our phases by the end of next year. Later next year, we'll also begin work on our AI-powered childcare recommendation tool that will truly revolutionize the way families find care. This will allow us to match families with the best providers that meet their needs without them ever having to search. We will integrate with calendars and surface predictive recommendations that offer childcare solutions before the parents have even had time to worry about them. This technology will truly be the future of family. Now let's talk team. My background, as you mentioned, is in financial services. I spent 15 years with Wells Fargo solving large organizational problems. So I built a lot of tools and brought a number of different tools and initiatives to market to help solve problems and make the lives easier of salespeople. I'm also the mom of 3 boys, 5 and under, and I created this platform based on my own personal struggles with this massive problem. We do have an exited founder on the team, and our CTO has significant marketplace experience. We've also added some powerhouse advisors to the team and plan to add a couple more over the coming months to round out our board. We're currently raising our pre-seed round of $1 million on a safe note with a $5 million pre-money cap. We have about 100K already in and a soft commit for another 100K. Right now, what we're really looking for as the lead investor is we're in talks with and due diligence with several other funds and smaller angel groups that would love to come in if we hammer down that lead. With the funds we raised this round, we're going to get to 10,000 users and $1 million in revenue. Next year, we'll open our seed round, which will take us to 50,000 users and $5 million in revenue. From there, we'll raise our Series A, which will get us to 500,000 users and $20 million in revenue. Raising a Series B is a bit TBD because another great thing about a company like us is short-term exit potential. We are targeting a short 5-year exit to media giant IAC, who absolutely loves to buy companies just like us. Angie's List and Care.com are comparable companies that both sold to IAC for $500 million. Our financial projections sort of sum a lot of this up and show us reaching our SOM within 5 years. And the split long-term will be about a third to 40% subscription revenue, and then the rest split between advertising and transactional revenue. So while the bad news is, yes, the childcare climate is currently a disaster, the good news is that it doesn't have to be. America deserves better, and we can do better. Don't miss out on your opportunity to help end the American childcare crisis and to support SoCal's next unicorn. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Olivia. Okay, any questions? Okay, I can start. So you have a product in the market. What has been sort of what do you see as your kind of biggest challenge right ahead of you? What are you most concerned with?
Fundraising. I mean, it's the honest truth, right? We've overcome a lot of technology challenges. Our 1.0 platform had some problems. It was developed offshore. So we ended up doing a full-on rebuild, and we rewrote everything from scratch. I brought in an amazing fractional CTO who led us through all that. So we've overcome a lot of kind of those first-year hiccups and challenges and getting the tech right, trying to overcome the marketplace challenge of having to acquire 2 sides at the same time. So we got all the data, now we have that loaded. So we really have overcome a lot of hurdles. But as you know, raising at the pre-seed stage is a challenge right now, even when you have some early customers and revenue. So we think we have attractive terms and we're pretty far along for pre-seed, but we do need someone to come in and say, all right, we're going to lead this round and get it closed and help solve this big problem.
With those early customers, what can you tell us about sort of the dynamics of some of the stats, right? So how long are they sticking around? What's their average value? Things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, right now it's a little early to calculate what the LTV will be. We're estimating 5 years conservatively because that's, those prime early childhood years where you constantly need care. But, one of the points that I've been making, and we were actually featured in Bloomberg this week talking about this, is that childcare doesn't stop at kindergarten. It goes on for many years after that. And we're struggling through this now with after school programs and pickups and drop-offs and all these different things. So I actually think it'll be higher than that, but we haven't had any users that have canceled or deleted their accounts. We have some providers that are still on free accounts. We have some providers that are on premium. So we kind of have the freemium model, right? We have free, premium, and sponsored. But the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And our first revenue dollars we've gotten in, we haven't done any paid marketing this year. So we've been able to achieve that revenue from people finding us, signing up, us doing whatever we can without paid marketing. And I think what it shows us is that providers are willing to pay. Again, we have this B2B SaaS revenue model, right? Where we're giving them these SaaS-like services to help them run their centers. The lead generation is almost sort of the cherry on top. But we've had providers subscribing, even though we haven't really acquired many parents yet. So it shows us that they're seeing value in those tools that we offer, even if the lead generation isn't quite there yet.
Great. Nice. Okay, any other questions?
I'd be
All right.
shocked. I usually have many. This is a very quiet investor group.
This is Darren. I just wanted to, I don't have so much of a question as I do a comment. I just want to say I can understand how you did so well in your pitch competitions because you're extremely well spoken and extremely well scripted. So nicely done.
Thank you. I do have a pitch competition win check behind me, just, a little subtle drop. So, I can raise a little, but we're working on a couple bigger checks now.
I mean, that check is large. It's large.
I've always wanted to win one of those, and I was so afraid they'd take it because I've heard of that. They take it and swap it for a small one. And I'm like, I really want to take home the big check, and they let me. So now I had to make it my background.
That's fair. Okay.
Do you want me to address any of the common things that come up, or?
Sure. Yeah, you have a few more minutes here. That would be great.
I think I kind of addressed like the provider side already being, we have the data for that. Other things that come up are just a little more questions about the vetting. So all of the providers on our site right now are actually licensed providers through the state. So they've gone through Trustline certified, CACI RIT checks, all of that. And so we verify those licenses every year and put a badge on their profile showing that they're license verified. And then when we do add gig workers, everything will go through an API through our site, but we are using, a nationally recognized background check provider that handles all of the compliance, that takes care of any adverse action if we decline anyone from being on the site. So no providers will be listed on our site that haven't cleared one of those 2 checks. And then for gig workers, parents have the option to run additional checks as well. If they want they would pay a one-time fee if they want like DMV records and more detailed things like that. When we add drivers, those will require a DMV check already, but for some of like the nanny babysitter types, we'll have that option for parents. And I see I spiked a question. Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, having been a parent and knowing the west side of LA and that sort of parent world, because we've seen a lot of pitch decks on similar things or different parenting areas, the market right now is fragmented because most people prefer word of mouth, right? The power of word of mouth and personal reference for a lot of what you're talking about as far as childcare goes. Is there a component of your business that you've considered doing through acquisition?
As in us acquiring another company?
Yeah, well, because where the pools of parents are and where, right now, they're all in different, the west side of LA has its own, I can't remember what it's called, but the west side of LA, I know Austin, Texas has their own little grouping and gathering of mommy, their mommy websites, right? So there's all these mommy websites with a lot of mommies who, I'm going to sound horrifically misogynistic as I'm about to say this, but there's a lot of overqualified moms that once they decide to stay at home end up starting these types of platforms to solve problems for their 24 friends. And that all of a sudden becomes something that's a little bit more than just 24 friends, but also not big enough to go national because no one really takes it that way. So, you know, I wonder if there's some kind of acquisition model where you could gather a lot of customers and, you know, the eyeballs that way, both the eyeballs and the service providers.
Yeah, so we really consider that a part of our influencer program. So there's a lot of mom groups that we do have on our influencer list. So it may not be, you know, an individual celebrity influencer, but, you know, there's SoCal Moms and there's San Diego Moms Co. And there's all these different mom groups that have, you know, 20 to 50,000 following of moms in California looking for these things. So for our influencer program, we're really working on what are the groups that get asked this constantly. Like we've had so many of these influencers say, we will work with you at a fraction of our normal rate. We get asked about this night and day. People are begging for this. I never have a good answer and we want to promote the heck out of this. I've even had 2 influencers offer to do it for free. So I think like they really see the need. Like you said, it gets asked a lot, but the problem is, yeah, a lot of things are word of mouth, but childcare, word of mouth is not a great solution for that because most likely if you have an amazing preschool or daycare, it's probably full and on a waiting list. There's sort of a secret, a joke between moms right now that's like, don't you dare ask me for my babysitter's name because I will not give it to you because then you'll be booking them all the time and they won't be available to me anymore. So it's kind of a, you know, and then summer camps are just a challenge for everyone constantly. So that's a lot of struggle. And what we see is a lot of moms are just posting blindly on Facebook. I need childcare. I don't know what to do. Some of them are even hiring caregivers directly off of Facebook, which is a terrifying behavior. I am on a mission to end. But you know, they don't see a lot of other options and they don't want to pay a high subscription fee for like a care.com when they don't even know if they're going to find a fit. I mean, the care is expensive enough. So that's why we weren't going to have that model. So I definitely think between our ambassador program and our influencer program, we'll hit on what you're touching on. But we'll continue to look for those opportunities and make sure we're really plugged into that mom network because I do think that's where it's really going to spread.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Okay. Thank you so much, Olivia. And if anyone does think of questions later, feel free to put it in the, well, to email directly and we can get those resolved. So that is everyone that we have to present today. Thank you so much to the presenters. I know the journey that you're on and it is hard work and it's amazing work. So we really appreciate the time that you spend with us today. So I'm going to ask you guys to drop off and just kind of the investor side, we'll have a little chat on our side. And our team will reach out either way in a week or so, or within a week. Thank you guys.